So Malcolm, you've got Juki and I here today at the National Memorial Arboretum. What have you got to tell us?
Well, it's 1939, the season's 3 games old, and the season stops because World War II starts. Football-wise, there were wartime leagues, but they weren't leagues as we know them. They were leagues where there'd be guest players. And if the players were based near Birmingham, they'd play for Blues or whatever. A lot of the players would have gone to join up straight away, or if they had different occupations or jobs they could carry on with. But I think a lot of them would have wondered, is this the end of my career? Am I ever going to play again? Will the war finish? How long will it go on for? Tommy Farrage, youngster from the North East, from Ice Bend, just south of Newcastle. Played for a team in Newcastle called Walker Celtic that were meant to be one of the amateur clubs, was their star player. But when he was at school, his school team for 2 or 3 years won every trophy that was going, absolutely everything. I think 3 or 4 of the players were picked up by Newcastle, and Tommy was spotted by Blues. So Tommy signed for Blues in 1936 and played a few friendlies originally. Played against Celtic, and the press raved about him. He made his debut the day after he signed in the Staffordshire Cup against Walsall. I think we won 6-1 and he scored 4 of the goals. So thinking there's some player here. So,
and what position did he come as?
He was a left winger.
Right.
In fact, when we go back to 1939, that was the first season of people wearing numbers.
Yep.
And he scored the first goal for the club by anybody wearing number 11.
Number 11, yeah, that was classic left winger.
Eh?
Yeah.
So Tommy left the artillery, didn't like them being shelled in Kent, looked at other things available, and one was the Paras. And they liked the idea. It was going to be training in the countryside. They got more food, better food, and they had longer holidays. So they trained at Manchester at RAF Ringway, got through the training part of it. They then expected to be taken to D-Day, and they thought they were going to D-Day, then they just weren't. I don't think they were told why they weren't, they just didn't go. So within 2 months there was Operation Market Garden, which was the one to go to Arnhem, which was to get the bridgehead into Germany. So they trained for that, they were told what was going to happen, and they were simply told that it'll be quite straightforward because the Germans aren't expecting us to be here. If there are troops there, there'll be a Dad's Army type force, and all the crack troops are nowhere near, and there'll be a British force, will be about 2 days away before you go, so they were there to meet you. So when they jumped, the force was still 2 or 3 days away. They'd been held up by the German troops, and they found that the Dad's Army were crack soldiers. So we had 12,000 Paras jumped, and they get to the ground and there's no support, so they're in a mess straight away. So for about 4 days they're just coping with the fire. And in Tommy's troop with the 10th Battalion, there's a guy who's one of his friends who's the radio operator. So he's putting up his aerial and he gets shot in the arm. So he's taken away. He comes back about a day later and he finds the majority of them aren't there, they're dead. So about 3/4 of the 10th Battalion have been killed in this one massive attack. They were killed with such force that rather than try and bury them as in this is such and such soldier, it was a mass grave. So they're buried somewhere southwest of Arnhem in a mass grave. They never actually got to get to the bridge. This is the 1939 census. In the 39 census, Farrage Thomas, professional footballer. So there he is. He exists. Then we've got the war deaths. Here we are, Farrage Thomas, 1944. And that's the book, you'll find him in there. And then we've got the final casualties and death lists, and there he is again. Farrage Private, and his number. So he's gone. This is written by a friend of his called George Hall, who wrote a book called Dropped In It. So he's talking here, the noise never stopped for a minute or two, the days and nights blending into one long nightmare, having seen many colleagues killed, seriously wounded, all we could do was hope for reinforcements. We believe with 12,000 concentrating on Arnhem, our armies were supposedly approached from the south. We didn't know that the armies from the south had been slowed down through lack of supplies. They were still more than 30 miles away and many miles short of German lines. So they knew before they went in that Arnhem was going to be maybe a bloodbath.
When Malcolm was telling us about the bridge, this is it.
Yeah. Everything that's such a key component in the operation. This is what they were all after, and unfortunately didn't make it here.
So this is the exact place that Malcolm was talking about.
Yep.
Where his name's on the wall. And there's all of the parachute regiment.
There he is.
Down to his name.
Yeah. Well.
I'm Claire Oyston Farrage. I'm the great niece of Tom Oyston Farrage. Tom was loved by his family, and that it was a big shock when he died. My dad was actually named after him, and that's why we have his medals. His family really wanted to honour him, and we struggled to find anyone who could support that over the years. So Birmingham have been amazing, and this day has really meant a lot to my family. Sadly, we lost my dad earlier this year, but he would have loved this, and this is something that we've come for to honour all of our family members that have passed. Tom didn't have to go to war. Tom volunteered to go to war. He was excused because he was a great football player, but he still went and unfortunately lost his life. Our family fractured at that point, and having someone remember him is massive for us because we've never had that before. My dad would have been so proud, and this is a huge way to sorry. This is a huge way to remember him, and I'm really thankful to be here.